Hey, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of ITN Studio Reviews. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got a special guest who's been on, oh, good Lord, a few of my shows before. And I decided to have John's co-host this one because we've talked about ITN Studios films a lot. And and we both had never seen this film. So this was the first time watch for both of us. And so I thought that was, a really good idea that this was the first one off the bank, to get this out. It is a little movie called Poseidon Rex. So this movie was directed by Mark L. Lester. The plot of it by IMDb. There's two plots. This one guy, Nick, wrote this one. Forced to pay off his debt to the murderous Caribbean crime lord Tariq. Instead, the American scuba diver and treasure hunter Jackson Slate wakes up from his deep hibernation, a massive T-Rex-like sauroid off of the coast of Belize. Now Slate has to team up with diver Henry, happy holiday makers Rod and Jane, and the marine biologist Sarah Jones to retrieve a Mayan treasure from the dangerous waters. However, the scaly beast from the sea is ever present and famished. But what good is a chest full of gold when you're dead? Can Jackson and his team defeat the all-powerful reptile Poseidon Rex? I guess that really did pretty much just sum up this film in one little thing.
More or less, yeah.
There's little things that happen, like Jane dies, which, sort of a lot of that was anticlimactic, like, because you don't really, my biggest problem with this movie is never really get to know the characters, like they're just kind of there.
Yeah, you know nothing. And I think, as I got my notes here, I wrote, I think I had 5 things that I liked. So maybe I'll start off with a positive. One, I liked the location.
Yeah, Belize,
I thought the locations were pretty cool.
I think it was actually shot in Belize. That's why they called it that, which is very surprising. A lot of times they shoot in somewhere and they call it somewhere else, but this time they actually called it where they shot it, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, so great locations. I'll give them that. I liked that they shot it during the day. I don't think that there were any scenes that were shot at night. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I did like there is like a baby dinosaur in it that comes out of an egg. I thought looked kind of cool. I did like that. And I liked that they were able to take the Poseidon Rex, which we thought was just going to be in the water, and bring it, and they actually brought it to the land. So I like that. As poorly as that was done, because it could have been like, well, they did do this, but it was just poorly done. Just, well, we're safe on land, and there was a great opportunity for a joke, and Roger Corman would have pulled it off, but they just didn't pull it off in this. From it, I think they pulled it off in like Piranha 2, The Spawning, where they're, thinking, oh, they're only in the water and then they can fly. So, which was done much better. But I did find, I guess, a few positives in it. But to go back to what you were saying, I had no idea who most of these people were and did not care. So it was, I think I was more interested in like the Jamaican bad guys, because at least the one guy had like a messed up eye. I thought they were more interesting.
Yeah, they should have concentrated more on them, I guess, but when you got a character, when you got an actor like Brian Krause, who I was very surprised was in the whole movie. I mean, generally speaking, a lot of times he's only in the movie for like a, like in the beginning and the end or something, like, what I mean? A lot of actors like that are, kind of more or less not in the whole thing, but he was the star, and considering this is below sci-fi, like this would not be something you'd actually see on the Sci-Fi Channel. I don't believe, there's a few movies like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you first brought it up to me, I thought it was sci-fi. I figured that it was, but you mentioned, ITN, and I'm like, I don't, is it ITN? I don't know. And then, oh, excuse me. And then I went and looked, and yeah, it was. So yeah, I just thought it was just cheap, Sci-Fi Channel. But I agree that it's actually worse than a lot of the Sci-Fi Channel movies.
Well, I mean, it's like yeah, it's worse, but it's like a rung on the ladder down, from it. And there's, I think I was telling you before, there are some like filmmakers that are just like right below this, but this is like a step above that. You know what I mean? Like there are some filmmakers who are wonderful, and they do the movies that they want to make, and they make these independent films, but they're just, they don't have the money, to make it. And then so this feels like it had a little bit more money, probably like 50 grand or something, to make a movie, and they went out and or maybe more. I could be wrong. I know IMDb always has like budgets, but I think a lot of that time those things are a lot higher than they actually are. Like I bet this would say like $2 million, and you can tell they did not. I mean, this was not a $2 million movie. This was like maybe at the most 100,000, but I doubt it. I bet even it's got to be lower, because the the special effects were kind of cheesy, and
well, and there weren't really any, and that's the the monster was obviously a VFX, and they kept using, like, when we would see a body part, it would be the same arm constantly over and over again. And you bring up like the director, who's Mark L. Lester, who I love, and I was actually insulted and kind of embarrassed at the same time that he produced and directed this. And for those of you who don't know who Mark L. Lester is, you should, because he directed such awesome classics as, and I'm not being sarcastic, Class of 1984, a great film.
Yep.
Yeah. Firestarter. Firestarter. Commando. Schwarzenegger. He directed Schwarzenegger in Commando, one of the greatest 80s action movies ever. Armed and Dangerous with John Candy. Class of 1999. Showdown in Little Tokyo with Dolph Lundgren and Brandon Lee. And then before this movie, before he got known, he also did Bobby, Joe, and the Outlaw, which has the Linda Carter, the original Wonder Woman, in it. And he also did I don't think this is Roger Corman, but it's kind of on that same level, Truck Stop Women. And to me, it's just like, this is one of those films where I said, what happened to this director? Like, what happened? I mean, this is something that a film student would all make. Right. I was in shock.
So he also did Showdown in Little Tokyo, and which I absolutely adore. And he also did, I mean, and he had done a movie called Pterodactyl, which was sort of. Yeah. Like it wasn't nearly as good, but it had Coolio in it. Come on now. Like it was, I think it was the beginning of when he started to kind of, like, I guess, see, when he was in the 90s, people were like, like these little indie studios were making amazing movies like Class of 1999, and then all these amazing films. And then it sort of just kind of disappeared, and they all of a sudden, nobody was financing these kind of films anymore. And so I kind of feel bad, because then they kind of do these really crappy B movies just to get by, and sometimes they're not even worth the amount that the director obviously didn't get paid, basically for it. It was kind of sad.
Just a vacation. I mean, that must have been what this was. Is we could go film in Belize, and that's worth it. I mean, I don't know. I would probably accept that. I mean, that's it was a beautiful. Well, it's a beautiful area, even though they shot in pretty crappy areas, but would still look nice. But I don't know. Maybe that's worth it. Is just we're going to go film and be able to go boating, or party at night.
I think I lost you there. It's been. Hey, John. Oh,
Yes.
okay, you're back. Sorry, I lost you for a second.
Oh, I lost you too.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're back. Don't know what happened. Stupid Zoom.
Bad connection.
Yeah. So to go back, to that, like, yeah. So I mean, it might have been a trip to Belize. Did you notice that every time they did a salvage, like they found a salvage, it looked like the same thing as the last time that they like, and they're like, oh man, oh look, there's the salvage from the boat, and it's just like 5 things that's in the water, but it's like the same 5, like a life jacket and
Oh, like after the creature destroyed the boat. Yeah. They probably tossed them in the water, filmed, and then said, okay, somebody get in there and gather them up. Like they had a net and they just scooped them all up. So the film is it's kind of starting from the beginning because my notes go in order. The titles, the reggae song or reggae techno song that we kind of hear kind of at the first quarter of the movie in and out. So horrible, so bad. It was awful. It like took me out of the film completely. And the editing was dreadful. I mean, it was some of the worst editing. And I don't want to blame Mark L. Lester because we all know that he could direct the film, obviously. So I don't know, maybe it's the editor or they lost a roll of film or something. But the editing is some of the worst. And as an example, this doesn't technically is the editing itself more of a vehicle, but if you remember, they're in the boats are in the water. So you have Henry, who's like the black guy, the tour guide.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the alleged police Coast Guard that are also by them. So there's 2 boats. In the scene of them going out to that big blue hole in the ocean, there's 3 boats, but there's only 2 boats. So there's Henry's boat, the tour guide boat, there's the police boat, and a Coast Guard boat. And I went back and rewatched the scene. So obviously they must have not had the police boat or the Coast Guard boat for a day. And they're just like, well, crap, what else do we have? Well, we're missing the police boat. We'll just get a Coast Guard boat because it clearly says Coast Guard on it. And it's only in like 2 or 3 shots because there's 3 boats in the same shot. And then they edit back and forth between the 2 boats, but sometimes it says Coast Guard and sometimes it says police. And I just lost it. I'm just like, oh, Mark L. Lester, why? Why? And it just makes no sense. And then even just them at the very beginning, finding, first of all, have you seen Star Trek V, The Final Frontier? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the final frontier in that is a barrier. And beyond that barrier is allegedly God. And that's where they're trying to get through is this barrier. And it's supposed to almost be like going through the Bermuda Triangle. Or something like no ship has ever made it through the barrier. Oh my, will the Enterprise be destroyed and we're all on our seats? Nothing happens. Nothing. They just straight barrier. Nothing happens. Like the ship doesn't even get damaged. But yet throughout the movie, we're hearing about the barrier and how no one makes it through the barrier. And they made it through it in like 5 seconds. This blue hole in the ocean reminded me of that.
Right.
Because the lead is telling the alleged scientist about, well, if you go down something like 200 feet, you get a cramp. If you go down 400 feet, you get a nosebleed. You go down, but then don't come back up because you'll go insane. Like if you go really fast, none of that was done.
Yeah.
None of it. They made it down to that map painting of a ship or a fish tank bowl with like a plastic ship in it.
Oh God. The fish that they used like over and over again reminded me of like screensavers you see on your fucking TV, and shit.
That's true.
It was just so terrible. I was like, where did they get these? These are like really terrible digital stock footage. shit.
There's a lot of stock footage in this. Yeah, I'm almost thinking that somebody maybe down there, allowed them to go to an aquarium and just swim around the aquarium. That way they could be by these fish. Because why would even these fish, if this creature lives down in this big blue hole, why would it be eating all the fish? Like, there would be no fish. So they could have had even a comment from like one fisherman. Just have some guy go, "We haven't had fish, man. Well, there's no fish anymore." That's my Jamaican accent.
They did that in Eye of the Beast, I believe, or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like where they would be like, "Oh, there's no fish," or whatever. Like that's the problem with the movie is like there's no fish, fish anymore or whatever. And so this is what the problem is, and that makes sense for a sea beast kind of movie,
right,
or whatever. What annoyed me about this movie was it was supposed to be like a Tyrannosaurus Rex sea beast, but like he looked just like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. That was it. There was no like look of him like having gills or anything like remoting like remotely being a sea creature, And so I honestly did not know that like, because I didn't look into this movie at all. Like I didn't look at the plot outline. I didn't see any of that. So I didn't know it was about a sea creature. I thought the Poseidon Rex was literally just a T-Rex that like existed and like, whatever. And then they had to explain it, which I thought was, like it was just a little cheesy she was just like, I got to name it. That's my discovery. I'm going to call it Poseidon Rex because he's the king of the ocean. I'm like, he's not a king of the ocean at all. Like he's literally this dinosaur that just pops up every now and then. Like you don't really, the only time you see him swimming, and it's so bad, it's when he's like swimming.
Yeah, it looks bad.
Yeah, when he's swimming with when they did the whole Jaws thing where they popped the thing on him so they could, track him. And then all of a sudden he's pulling them, really fast. I'm like thinking, you didn't think that would happen having this big, huge fucking creature, like.
Well, and that's another thing I noticed is what you just mentioned is if you look at something like Jaws, when Bruce the shark is pulling them backwards and the whole boat is like that as it's going through the water. Like it's almost about to sink if the shark goes anymore and they have to cut the ropes. In this, the boat is perfectly straight on the water.
just going
just going straight. He's it's gonna sink it. It's gonna sink it. No, it's like this. It's not like like it's not down. It's just flat.
Yeah.
It's like you guys,
we're gonna sink. And I'm like, no, you're not.
Nope. You're perfectly fine.
You guys are
and
going straight.
Well, and with the monster coming up, like I see, okay, so they go down, they set the charges, which I thought was kind of, okay, I guess these are, they could just set them off with just a switch. Okay, fine. There's no antenna to really be seen. There's a couple wires, but okay. And they blow it up. Literally a second later, the monster pops out of the hole from where they detonated. Mm-hmm. And it's like, why do you need to do, first of all, was that thing just sitting there like waiting for somebody to do this? Because you would think they would. Yeah, it's like, is it just waiting there? Because they blew it up. The guy falls back, and then he looks forward, and this thing shoots out.
Yeah,
and it's like, and why did you even have to do that when they show the eggs? There's a ton of coins around them.
Right.
So could they just get a bag of coins from around these eggs that people could go, oh, they're rocks. Oh, but we found all these coins. Here you go, dangerous, gangster guy. Here's my bag of coins. And he probably would have been happy.
Right.
So why blow it up?
That's all he wanted. I don't know. It was some of it didn't really make much sense at all. But I like your idea of like, I could just see that Poseidon Rex just waiting and then, oh, I can go now.
I can go up. I mean, even in something like the Meg, it still took a second. It took, they got through that chunk and then they're kind of cruising around under, where they haven't been. And then the Meg hits.
Right.
So they still gave us like a good, couple minutes until the Meg hit. This is straight up. And it made no sense at all. And it's the acting was really bad for most of it. And like the two Jamaican hit guys, where it's a 2-shot of them in the same frame. And he's talking, the one guy's talking on the phone to his boss, and they all do the same thing. It's the same 2-shot. He goes, I'm on it, boss. Turns and both walk out of frame. They did it 3 times exactly the same way. And it's just like, so what did you do? Just shoot them? Okay, we're going to turn the camera a little bit. Do it again. Going to turn the camera a little bit. Do it again. Okay, we just got three scenes.
Probably. I mean, that might have been. I mean, you know, we were talking about earlier about Markel Lester and how this was sort of probably an embarrassment to him. I think he literally just phoned this in. He was just like, you know what? I mean, you know, this movie is not going to be the greatest thing, you know, since sliced bread. Let's just have fun with it, whatever. Because like, I actually did like the 2 main people, right? I like the marine biologist chick. I guess that's what she is.
She was okay. Yeah, the blonde. Yeah, she was okay.
And then I like Brian Krause. Like I really enjoyed him. There were times where I was just like, even he felt like he was phoning it in, because there was one point where when he comes back, like he survived and everything, he looks at her and he goes, "Hey there," and I'm like, really? That's all you can say to her? You like literally,
hey,
you know, right? Like that was his line, and I was just like it felt like a phoning it in kind of thing. And you know, I was in a movie that he was in, Plan 9, you know, the remake that John Johnson did. And you know, he was wonderful in that movie, by the way. Like, I mean, he was having a blast, it seemed, you know, like he took it pretty freaking seriously and he got to have fun with it. I think with this one, he just felt like he was just, you know, like not caring as much. It was just like, all right, well, you know what? It's a chance to go to Belize. It's a chance to make out with a hot chick. You know, it's a chance to. I don't even know if they made out or not, but like I think they had a kissing scene at some point. You know, like
yeah. They because they sleep together with their clothes on. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once again, I think this was supposed to be for a Sci-Fi Channel. Like, I think they were aiming this to be something that they could sell to Sci-Fi Channel. And honestly, I just don't see this being something that even Sci-Fi would be like, yeah, no. It's like that. We did a movie for Indie Film Cafe, and we'll have to get you on like a Patreon only or something one day of it. But because we already did it, so we'd want to do it again. But there's a movie called Blood Predator, and it is so terrible. It's so bad.
Oh, I think I know Blood Predator. I think I know that one.
You watch the movie going, okay, this looks like a made for sci-fi reject, you know, like this is something that they were like hoping would go to Sci-Fi Channel at some point or whatever, they could sell the Sci-Fi Channel, and it failed. And this is that movie. This is another one of those,
right?
It's like
yeah,
a movie that's kind of was hoping to go to Sci-Fi Channel, didn't, so they sold it to ITN. ITN bought it, mainly probably for Brian Krause, and because it was a finished film that wasn't, you know, it wasn't good, but it wasn't you know, so you know, like you could understand everything that was happening. You know, there was no like real confusion, you know what I mean? When you see a lot of these movies, like there's certain creature features I watch and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? This movie just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. This has a pretty simple plot, and right. The one thing I will give them a little bit of credit for is I did like the scientists just kind of making up stuff. Right. You know, where the guy's like, what, you know of this creature? And she's like, oh, I'm just making it up. She's like, it sounds right. So I'll give them credit for that.
Yeah, they were like they were like know-it-alls and stuff, where we had a girl that Paul used to have on the show, Lenore, who would be our resident science advisor, right? She was a scientist, so she would actually tell us when these science movies were wrong, or whatever, like
That's funny.
And so she would have probably laughed at the fact that this chick actually says, I don't know, which
I'm just making it up.
because the writers don't fucking know, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, of these movies, they don't know shit most of the time.
Well, so I'll add. I think that's maybe 6 things that I like about this. Then is and I guess 6 isn't too bad, but and I like the title too. So there's just some very questionable writing in this. Like, the guy just leaves without his wife to go find this gold and she's like, well, I'm just going to go hang out by myself. And then these 2 guys that she sees earlier on come up and say, hey, do you want to go party on our boat? And I'm just going, rape, red flag, gang bang, get out of there, run away.
This was like before the Me Too situation and stuff. So it would have been a completely different thing nowadays, because that character would have been like a more, and that was another thing I just didn't like her character, Jane. She just was so, she was so annoying, because she was, she wouldn't go and help out, right? Which I understand. She's on vacation. They're both on vacation, right? But the guy's like all wants like the gold, or whatever, which I guess makes sense. But like that's not what they were there for. They were there to go fucking scuba diving, and that was it, or snorkeling or whatever. Snorkeling. It was really what they wanted to do, right? Like, I mean, it's just, it was so annoying.
But he was kind of doing it for her, though. He's, because the one guy's like, well, won't she be happy when you come back with the gold? And he's like, uh-huh. So it's kind of like everything he did for her, even if she didn't, spoiler, die, he wouldn't have been all pissed off and all about revenge. So he might have survived the movie, if she didn't go off with these guys, because I'm thinking like, warning, when these guys are trying to get her to come back onto the boat. Then we cut to the boat and it's guys and girls. And I'm like, oh, okay, then that's a little bit better. But then the lack of nudity really kind of depressed me, because I'm thinking this is a party boat. And I think they were I don't know if they were showing a little bit of drugs. No, I don't think they were showing drugs or anything. And the guy makes a move on her. And she goes, look, I'm married. It's not going to happen. And he's like, well, I guess all things have to come to an end. Is this PG?
No.
Is this seriously?
I seriously think it was made for sci-fi. So they were thinking television, and a lot of times you can't show that stuff, So I think,
but you know what? Instead of the creature, Poseidon Rex, instead of good old PR knocking into the boat and having her fall off, why not have the guy get pissed and be like, wait a minute, you're on this boat to party. That's why you came with us. He has that jerky frat mentality, and he pushes her off the boat. And then that's when, that's what attracts the creature. Because then it's just like, I'm not buying for a second that this guy's just going to be all, Ned Flanders and be like, Oakley dokley, I guess I'm not going to get any, I think he would have been a little more pissed off, because he didn't look like, the brightest guy. Right. So it's like, there was so much of this type of writing in there where, including when we go to the other island, where we had the 4 army people. And I love how the one guy is in front of like this weird radar screen, and he repeats what's on the screen to like his commander behind him. He's literally standing 1 inch from you. He can see what you're seeing. I don't think you need to announce it. And then the girl who's next to the guy at the computer or at the radar screen, she goes, we can't do that strike. There's people on that island. And the commander goes, well, those are your friends. They'd better get off that island. When did we establish they were friends? I know what he's saying. They're not actually friends. But it's such a weird line, because if I was her, I'd go, sir, those aren't my friends. I don't even know them. Why are you stating it that way?
Right.
He should, the line should have just been, well, then I hope those people get off the island, or I hope those tourists get off the island, or something like that. Why would he call them? Well, those are your friends. Is there 20 minutes of movie missing?
I don't know.
Where we saw her partying on the island.
No, I don't know, because
it's just bad dialogue.
Yeah, it's just terrible dialogue. There was a lot of that in the movie. I think honestly, I almost feel like some of it's like improv or something, or like thought up on the spot.
Right.
Like they were trying to fix the script and they were like, let's just say it's your friends and blah blah blah, and that like doesn't make any sense, but let's do it anyway. Like that's how this movie the whole movie feels. The ending is so like the ending of her fucking shooting the fucking the Poseidon Rex and his head being blown off or whatever, and
I love that. I love that.
And then he falls down, and then later on, I guess they forgot about the eggs, which didn't make any sense because that's all they're.
Well, that's for the sequel. That's
Right.
the sequel. That's Poseidon Rex 2. Because now there's just not going to be one Poseidon Rex. There's going to be multiple Poseidon Rex. So it'll be Poseidon Rexes, or Rexies in there. So that was which didn't make any sense, because if they were down there and they noticed the eggs, why not just destroy the eggs?
Well, because remember the first time they saw the eggs and they found them, they just wanted to figure out what the eggs were because they just saw eggs, right? So they, then that's when that little mini dinosaur came out. But actually, that's my favorite part of the whole movie. I forgot to mention that. That's my favorite part of the whole movie because Tariq and all of them are stuck in the thing.
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh yeah, the gold's in the refrigerator. Like, wait, what? Put in there. All right, let's see where this goes. And
we wanted to keep it cold for you. It's hot here.
I think, well, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense to stash it somewhere where people wouldn't normally suspect it. But like, so they go in the thing, they open up and the thing goes, and like it was the cheesiest, most fun part of the whole movie. Because I think if that was the movie, literally, like Poseidon Rex was this little teeny tiny dinosaur that was like wreaking havoc on the land, like a full moon, pre-hysteria type, movie. I think I would have liked it a lot more.
I have a feeling if they did a sequel, I'll predict the sequel. It would have been a little more Roger Corman-ish, where it opens with a box of eggs. Like it's in a lab, it's a box of eggs being wheeled through. You have the blonde scientist and, the main guy going after the guys wheeling the cart, with her going, don't you know what's in there? Those are Poseidon Rex eggs. You don't want those getting out in this underground facility, because if they get to the mainland, they'll kill everybody. So, because it would probably be, cheaper to make it that way. So I think that probably, I think that they would probably have the eggs if they made a sequel. And to go back to your boat thing for a second, with his head blowing up, what were they aiming at with the guns? Because they're holding the guns like that. And the Poseidon Rex is like a mile away. Like, what are you shooting at? You're shooting at the sun. You're shooting at a seagull.
Maybe
because they obviously the ball, or where whoever was there saying, okay, I'm the first AD. The Poseidon Rex is like right here, and then the guys that did the VFX put him like down here and a mile away.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what happened. I remember. I remember watching the first time I ever knew that was a thing. There was a show called LA Complex. It was in 2012, and there was a movie. They were doing a movie called Cacta Bear. It's like a cactus and a bear together. Cacta Bear.
Nice.
And
I'd watch that.
Yeah. So they're like, where's Cacta Bear? And it was like a little, ball that she had to look at. She's like, really? But like,
Yeah, it's normally a tennis ball, like a green tennis ball. Yeah.
and that's it. So that's literally probably what happened. Or if not, they just said there, that's where it is, and then they just started aiming up high, and then the VFX crew were like, okay, the Poseidon Rex isn't that big. We're gonna have to make him down here, and you know what I mean. So it was a little off. But all in all, I didn't absolutely, because I know you said before we started this podcast that you were not a fan, but I mean, I think you literally said the word hate. I didn't hate the movie. I mean, I didn't like it necessarily. This isn't something that I'm gonna, but it might be something I'd watch just to like laugh at, sort of thing, like to me, it's one of those too kind of bad. It's fun, movies or whatever to me. I don't know.
I think if I was watching it with someone, kind of like how we watched that what was that one with the alien animal what was he, a llama? Llamageddon. Like a Llamageddon. That was fun to watch with somebody. Yeah, that was fun to watch with somebody. So I think if I was probably watching this with somebody, I would have enjoyed it more. I think I was mostly just really disappointed with Mark L. Lester. I wanted more. I've always liked the guy. I've seen probably almost everything he's made, at least once, some of them many times, like Commando. And it was just so disappointing seeing that name on there, that because I didn't really want to know anything about the film. I didn't watch a trailer. I didn't watch anything. I just knew the picture, that just said Poseidon Rex. So it really disappointed me. And to me, it just breaks that cardinal sin, especially of like action and horror movies. It's boring. Like it's just dull, and just not a lot happens. And there's really no excitement. I mean, it's, once again, I bring up Roger Corman as I'm thinking of like Dino Shark and some of those other ones. There would have been style. There would have been some sort of substance to it because it's a Corman produced film. And this, I just didn't get anything like that from. I mean, I could sit through almost anything that Corman, has produced. But this to me was just so boring.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me a long time to get through.
Really? I actually, I mean, I sat
through 2 days.
Oh, okay. So you finished it today then? Or was it?
Yeah, I just had to stop. Because, we watched it, or at least I watched it on Tubi. So they got the commercials. So It's longer than what it should be. So I think I made it through about the first, let's say, hour. And then I watched the rest of it at work.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. It was, to me, honestly, and I watched it through Amazon Prime. It's on Prime as well. ITN actually does that a lot, where they'll put it on Prime, they'll put it on Tubi, and they'll put it on their own ITN Studios, app, that they have. So you can actually get an ITN Studios app. So, I don't know if this is on there or not, because they don't have all their whole, library on there, but they have this on at least Tubi and Prime. I honestly think if you're kind of bored, but you're not, don't go in this movie expecting something good, go in this movie expecting to be disappointed, and maybe you'll be, especially if you hear the name Mark L. Lester, like, if you know Commando, if you know his library of work, and you're like, oh man, why did he sink this low? I mean, it just happens, some filmmakers, they just eventually, that kind of, their career sort of hits a nosedive. And I feel like this was sort of the thing. I honestly, but if you're kind of going in there expecting to be disappointed, but kind of hoping to be a little, at least get some kind of fun, like you pointed out, there was 6 positive things you can say about it. That's a lot better than some movies, you've watched, I'm sure. So
that's true. I mean, I would mostly recommend the location, and I also watched yesterday Christopher Nolan's Insomnia, which I still think is his best film. I think it's probably Robin Williams' best film too. And it's just where it's shot up in Alaska. It's so beautiful. So even if that was a bad movie, you at least have the scenery to look at. And there's another film called The Snowman about a serial killer. And I think it's Iceland that it takes place in. Beautiful. I mean, I would buy it just to look at the scenery, even though it's not a good thriller at all. So maybe go into it like that if you want to see, Belize and that it's beautiful looking and there's great oceans. Go into it for that. Go be a scenery person.
I mean, I always like to take out positive stuff when the movie is, and there might be some movies that I feel is so beyond, garbage that, you know what I mean? That like there's no redeeming factor on it. I think there, it didn't bore me. I was interested, throughout the whole thing. I wanted to know what was going to happen. Especially when they got on land, it reminded me of Sharknado when they're running from the beach, from the
that I did like. I did like that.
Yeah, it reminded me of Sharknado. They're running and this thing's coming after them. And I was expecting somebody to wield a chainsaw,
I mean, even that could have been better. Like there's the Peter Benchley miniseries. It was one of his books called Great White. And they did a 2-part miniseries. And the first part is all about the great white shark. And then at the very end of the first part, I believe it's a woman scientist. I think it's a woman scientist and like a sailor or something, like a fisherman. And she goes, well, at least it can't come up on land. And we see like the first leg come out, the second leg come out, the third leg come out, the fourth leg come out. And it's just going through these kind of growing pains of becoming now like a land shark. Nice. And so now it's this great white shark that has these 4 legs, and they're like, oh, shit. And of course, it ends, and then it continues with it on land in the next part. I mean, they could have done that. They could have at least had something where it, like you said, it just looked like a T-Rex. There was nothing fishy about it. So maybe have it look fishy at the beginning. It's CGI. It can't be that hard to make at least legs, for it to come out with, if they made it fishy.
Well, right, because the funniest thing is, like, I guess the actors had no idea what it was going to look like, and nobody did, and right. So I don't know if, when they were making it, that they whatever, for whatever reason, it just did not look like it could even survive in the water. So like. Right. Like when they saw the thing originally pop up, I don't know how they didn't look at each other and go, okay, this thing could walk on land. There's no doubt about it. This looks like a normal T-Rex that's going to attack us. I think, like I said, I think they didn't know what it was going to look like. So they just assumed it was going to look like some kind of fish Rex, kind of thing. And it didn't look like that. It just looked like a normal T-Rex, which, I mean, it was a P-Rex. They named it that. I was like, that's pretty cool. I even wrote that to you on a message as a P-Rex, because I actually liked that. I liked calling it a P-Rex. And I think that's literally why they call it Poseidon Rex, is so that they can call it a P-Rex, not a T-Rex. So, otherwise, well, maybe they could have done a B-Rex. I don't know, like a Barracuda Rex. Now that would have been cool, but there you go. Like that would have been neat, but they ended up going with just a typical look of a dinosaur. And I don't know if that was maybe like miscommunication on like the artist's part, or if it was just the artists were just like, oh, you just want a Tyrannosaurus Rex. All right, just draw you that, So
it was the only schematic on the DVD ROM that they had that they could use at that time.
Maybe
it's like dinosaurs in there, and they're like, "Oh, look, there's a T-Rex. Let's use that one." So that's kind of what it looked like on that screen in the army room. Is they had that outline of it, just kind of like it's moving on the water, and it's the same exact diagram as it is on land. So there was like no difference between it on water and on land. And I was looking at that going, I bet they took that from something, and that's like the only design they had. So maybe not, you never know, but maybe.
That sounds plausible. I mean, I don't know. This movie was okay. It wasn't like I wasn't bored. I wasn't. I mean, it wasn't good. Like not anywhere near good. I don't. I feel like Mark Lester should be a little bit ashamed with his whatever. But then again, like I said, I think it's more along the lines of just he's going out to pasture, man. Like he's just his career is just like this is it, you know. I saw he has one more film coming up, and the editor was actually a decent editor. He's done a lot of shit, so I don't know how he fucked that up, but he's got a movie called Dragons of Camelot that came out in 2014, and he's got two other films that are in pre-production, and stuff. So hopefully, I mean, maybe Dragons of Camelot was good. I don't know. I never saw it.
I don't know. I hope so. And I'm friends with Mark L. Lester on Facebook, so I'm really hoping that if he watches this for some reason, please, I'm not insulting you. I actually admire your work, but it just makes me sad at the same time.
He was friends with me on Facebook. I don't know. Yeah, I guess we're not anymore. He hadn't even heard this yet, so I don't know. Maybe we weren't. Maybe we weren't, but anyway, maybe he's got ears everywhere and he's already preemptive.
Yeah, it's possible.
Us. But
preemptive T-Rex strike on you.
I know, man. Well, I dare him to send me that like ridiculous Tyrannosaurus Rex that basically all he did was destroy boats. Because you never see him kill anybody on land or whatever, really. He, like when he was on land, I don't think he ever actually killed anybody.
He ate the drug dealer.
Oh, that's right. He did. That was one of the best parts of the movie, too. Just because I was like waiting for Tariq to die somehow. And I was like very happy he survived the little mini P-Rex because I was like, I want this guy to like, I want to see him die, I don't want him to like die off screen, but
and the scars look good. Maybe that's another thing that I can add to that I liked. I thought the scars or like the wounds on people actually looked good, that somebody took time to make like the dead wife, she had the wounds and then the drug dealer guy had the wounds. And I thought those looked pretty good. I thought those looked very fresh. They actually look pretty good.
Yeah. So
we're getting up there. We're almost at 10. Almost at 10.
Almost at 10?
10 things I like.
Oh, I was like, wait. What?
I think that's like 7 or 8 now.
I mean, which isn't, I'm telling you, like, I think I'm surprised because, like, when you started this, you were very, very specific about how much you're going to, like, don't be surprised. I'm not going to like this movie. We're not going to, and then I convinced you kind of, more,
Yeah, talking about it, and I do try to walk away with things that are positive from films. So, as you know, I have known some people who make some very bad movies, and I try to always walk away with something good from them. So
you even said that to me. You said that to me about like there's been certain movies and you were like, I can still watch them even if they're not the greatest and everything because, I can always get something from that, from those terrible movies. And, I get that, like usually what we get is don't do this, as a filmmaker, don't make T-Rexes like regular P-Rexes look like regular T-Rexes, I mean, give them some kind of distinctive look to them. But I mean, maybe they could.
Yeah, well, that's what they did with like Jaws 2 is they had the burns from when the shark attacked the boat, with the surfer. I mean, with the skier on it, and so they actually gave it its own look to make it look from the shark for the first film.
Good.
So they should have done something like that, like maybe. Yeah, like had part of his face burned or something like that.
Maybe you can write the sequel.
Maybe.
Well,
hey, as long as I can sit there and say, scientist says, I'm just making this up, then I'm good. Then I don't have to do any research at all.
Right. Because otherwise you will have to do research, and then my friend Lenore will get on you about that. You're wrong.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this, and I'll make this quick because this is a little bit lengthy. But back in the day, there was a book. It was a self-published book about movies and the issues with films. And the one thing I remember is they compared the Bela Lugosi film Devil Bat to the film Outbreak with Dustin Hoffman. And they said the two biggest problems is the reason why Outbreak is so inaccurate and why scientists and doctors can just destroy that movie is because they tell you too much of the research. So, but in Devil Bat, Bela Lugosi tells you nothing about the bat. Nothing. He just takes that little bat, puts it in the machine, throws the switch, and then we see it. It's giant, and he turns the switch off and he lets it go kill people. It's completely plausible. It's plausible because he never tells you how he does it. But Outbreak is all filled with explanation, which then scientists said this is the most inaccurate movie ever made. Like, this is horrible because there's so much detail in it. So in a way, the less you tell, the better, because then nobody can prove you're wrong.
Exactly. I've learned that too, actually. Writing my stuff is like when you over explain, that's when people can pick things apart, but when you're just,
right.
You just have things happen, people can't, they can't go back and go, wait, that doesn't make any sense because he said this, now it's just like, oh, okay, I'll go with it. Like that's where we're at. You know what I mean? So I get it. Totally. Well, thank you, John. As your,
well, thank you.
As your thing says at the end, you got a little show right now. It's it's going to be on hiatus until I think actually it might be back when this comes out, because this doesn't come out to July, so it might already be back by then. But you have a little show called One Filmmaker, One Film. Yeah.
Wait, where's my finger?
It's right
there. It is right there.
Yep. And you interview people, and you interviewed me, so thank you.
Like you.
Yeah, like me, and I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, thank you for being on it.
And you talk about one of their films, and I think that's a really cool idea for a show, and I'm surprised. I'm glad you're the first person to come up with it, because I'm surprised that as far as I know, nobody's ever done that. So that's really cool that you were able to.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
So everybody go check out One Filmmaker, One Film on is it the Dark Park Films YouTube channel, right?
On YouTube, yeah. I think I have it listed as John Ward Dark Park Films, and then all the One Filmmaker, One Film are there, plus other stuff. So there's other things there too, but the channel's small so far, but it will grow. It
will grow, definitely. Just like this one's growing as it goes, So I really appreciate it. We'll just end this by saying, judge for yourself what you guys think of Poseidon Rex. If you like it,
don't stop us.
Yeah, don't just,
or don't stop us from not having you watch it. There we go.
Exactly. Yeah, probably a little bit, but so we can tell you what we think about it, but that doesn't. We're journalists. We just are filmmakers who enjoy, reviewing movies and giving our little critique about it. So if you like the film, go ahead. If you didn't like the film, that's all good too. Or if you don't want to see it because whatever, that's your choice as well. I mean, I guess all you got to do is check out the previews and see what you guys think for yourself, before you watch it. There's some people that love these kind of movies. Myself and Paul definitely, are one of those people. John, you're one of those people who love these kind of low budget indie flicks. And so go watch it yourself. tell us what you think. Give us a thumbs up if you agreed or disagreed. Let us know what you guys think and leave a comment below. Also check out Sick Flick Productions. Check out sickflickproductions.com, indiefilmcafe.reviews, indiefilmcafe.podbean.com, and patreon.com/indiefilmcafe. If you want to throw us a buck, we have Patreon only content podcast that you can just for $1 you get a podcast that we're not going to put anywhere else. So that's something for you guys to look forward to. So thank you guys for checking this out, and hope you come back and let us know what you guys think. Okay, and join us. Join us on this is going to be the first Thursday and third Thursday of the month, all the way up to November. So hope you guys enjoyed it, and keep checking out the new videos. Bye.
Bye.